We love horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and we watch them for 2 days straight, and then we go write a book. Now we're looking back at every title, one at a time, in this podcast that we put out monthly. Once we've had an episode for every movie, it's time to meet up for another Shark Marathon. All right, hello everybody. The red record light is red, which means that we're here for another exciting edition of the Shark Marathons podcast. I'm Matt Farley here with Charlie Roxburgh.
Hello.
And nobody else. That's right, folks. We had a huge fight with Tom. It was ugly, yelling and screaming, and it ended with me saying, "You're out of the podcast," and him saying, "Well, I don't care. I don't want to be in your stupid podcast anymore." And it's ugly, Charlie. Of course, I'm just kidding. That's not what happened.
Yeah, it was more like he was busy and didn't get a chance to watch it yet. Not so exciting.
It wasn't so exciting. It was more like,
we miss him big time.
We miss Tom desperately, but he said, "You know what? I'm currently in a hotel where I can't Skype with you guys, and I haven't watched the movie yet either. Why don't you do it without me?" And we said, "Okay, no biggie."
Yeah.
So we're going to try, who knows if it's going to happen, but I'm going to encourage him to send us a voice memo that we can tack on to the end of this podcast, just for the diehard Tom Scalzo fans to, hear his take on Model Killer, like 7 years after watching it.
Yeah. And people should look at his take in the book, too, because he really breaks down the VHS box in its full, inaccurate glory.
Nice. Now, we've always known this movie, Charlie, as The Model Killer, but do you have the alternate title handy for the people?
Yes, it's The Hollywood Strangler meets the Skid Row Slasher.
Wow. Now, there's no two ways about it. Our title is much worse than that other one. And do you know any of the history of which came first, or what?
I think that The Hollywood Strangler meets the Skid Row Slasher came first. And Ray Dennis Steckler is known for having long, funny, like zany titles too. I don't know, but since we watched it as Model Killer and that's how our VHS is labeled, I have a hard time letting go of that.
Yeah. I only learned of this alternate title in the last month. So it starts with there's a pattern. A pattern's going to be formed right off from the beginning. The pattern is a woman poses provocatively for the model killer. Does he even have a name, Charlie?
I just call him Model Killer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So a woman's posing for him, and he's snapping photos. And
It's very sudden. It's as if you just switched the channel, and all of a sudden you were like, "What's this?" And that's the start of the movie.
And we should note, there's no dialogue recorded on set. It's every word is overdubbed. And every word spoken by the main character, as far as we know, is an inner monologue, right, Charlie?
Yes. So it's this amazing mixture of confusion because it's almost as if they're all aliens speaking telepathically or something. Because
right.
the girls are actually supposed to be talking to the model killer, and the model killer is just going on with his own thoughts. And in perhaps my most favorite low budget, let's explain things away stuff, one of this first girl says to the model killer, "Oh, you're so quiet." Did you hear that?
I have it written in my notes right here. "Man,
good,
you're so quiet," she says. Now, and then to distinguish between what is supposed to be dialogue versus the model killer's thoughts, he gets maybe a little reverb on his thoughts, Charlie?
Probably, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. I don't remember exactly, but
I feel
it is
I'm
amazing.
pretty sure. And plus, he's loud. His stuff is louder. Like, I listened to half of it on headphones, and I realized there's a lot more dialogue going on than I had known previously.
Yeah, I like when it comes up on screen saying a Cine Paris Films Limited Production.
It's very hoity-toity for the model killer. So we hear him, as he's snapping photos, he says, "Soon she'll be out of her misery." And then, sure enough, she is. He strangles her to death, and it's time for the opening credits. And you could basically just keep watching this scene on repeat and have a similar experience to watching the whole movie, which is thankfully short. Charlie, tell me how happy you are when this movie's over. By the way,
Okay, well,
not to skip
it's
ahead.
so repetitive, insanely repetitive. It's almost as if it's an art form, how repetitive this is. But it we watched it again, you and I both did on YouTube. And just because Tom he's like the keeper of all the glorious VHS, we didn't have it. And surprisingly, the length of the clip on YouTube is not equal to the length of the movie. The end, someone just ripped it off a DVD or something, and the movie ends, and then it starts repeating again. And there's this big chunk at the end. So,
So, listeners,
it
Charlie
was
and
short.
I are watching the YouTube video, and we remember the movie being about an hour long. And on the YouTube thing, it says it's an hour and a half, and we're like, "What is this? Was the videotape that we watched grossly edited?" And then, thankfully, at the hour mark, it ended, and then we realized it was just a mistake by the YouTube person who posted it. And it was the same feeling I got when it happened at the Shock Marathon. I was just so, not that I hated this movie, but it feels so good for it just to end and not to have to sit through a long climax. In fact, I am for movies that are closer to 60 than 90 minutes. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I mean they're asking you a lot if you're going to stick with this a long time, and the end is very nice. It's what he deserves,
It's what we all deserve
and
an
we
ending
deserve
like
it.
that. I'm sorry to skip ahead, but I mean it could have just ended at the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, you know what surprised me here, like just in this storyline part, that we met this other girl so quickly, the bookstore owner woman who's our other main character. I thought she came in much later, but she's introduced on the beach. I think she's like looking at a scuba diver, right, Farley? And it's kind of subtle. It's sort of like, oh, there's this other girl who just exists, and it wasn't a scary scene. It wasn't involving the model killer, and then we're back to the model killer.
Which is why the original title makes more sense, because Model Killer and the Skid Row Slasher get equal billing, and it's her movie as much as his.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe it's his a little bit more, but still. So there's opening credits, then we get to see the model killer tending to his pigeons. Also, this YouTube version looked great compared to the VHS we watched. The VHS we watched was murky and horrible.
Yeah.
This is way better looking than the movie deserves.
Yeah, it's a whole new experience. I really thought it looked pretty good at times compared to what we saw.
Yeah, the VHS we got was ugly.
Mhm.
So after tending to his pigeons, he makes a phone call with another model. And in his head, while he's making this call, he's rambling in his head about how she wants to die too. Who is this a thing? Do guys just call girls and say, "I'd like to take nude photos of you," and they say, "Okay, come by at 4?"
I wish we had Tom for this
He'd
because
know.
he's a stickler. There's some part in here where he mentions placing an ad, I think, and the circumstances were so confusing that at times I was thinking, is he hired by the girls to take their photos?
Or
Which
is it
is
the
what-
other way around?
Wh-
Yeah.
Which is what you do for like headshots, right?
Yeah.
Like because those girls they're not spending any money. He has the equipment in the film. But then I thought that he's complaining about them taking his money, and he might hire them so he could get these like racy photos. So it really seems like no one should have paid anyone, and they just should have called it even and said, "I enjoy having a weird guy come to my house to take pictures," and the guy could have been like, "I enjoy taking photos and strangling them, so let's just call it even."
So
But
as he's driving to her place, we see shots of pedestrians, and I'm gonna guess, Charlie, they don't know they're in this movie. Those
oh
pedestrians.
yeah, they have no idea.
Those
The-
are not
the-
paid extras.
Well, the guy whoever's filming it barely knows he's taking shots for a movie. It's like all just half out the window. They could have been on the way to get a Slurpee and just like film something. You know?
So now we're in the photo shoot, with this mostly nude lady, and he says to himself, "She's teasing me like Marcia used to tease me." And Marcia is. I wish I could tell you more about the Marcia subplot. He brings her up quite a bit, but I don't know anything about her. Did I miss something, or do they just not explain it?
No, you're right. They do not explain it, and it's good because it wouldn't have been good to get another flashback where he also just strangled like another girl, which we can presume.
Yeah, let's presume that's what happened.
It's kind of fun to have her as just this ethereal reference, and oh, there's Marcia. I like it.
Unbelievable. So he kills this woman. He strangles her. Then he drives a station wagon home. He plays with some dogs. He reads a magazine, and then he goes into the bookstore. Which oh wait, no, he stares at the lady in the bookstore. I'm sorry. And then a drunk guy goes into the bookstore. Everyone there seems uncomfortable about him being there. The bookstore lady shoos him away. And the model killer, witnessing this, says to himself, maybe she's different. Before he goes in and grabs a book, then he leers at a younger girl in the bookstore until she leaves. And then the model killer leaves and stares at the bookstore lady for a little while. What a turn of events, this whole bookstore scene. The bookstore, first of all, is like barely a place. It's like,
Yeah.
Are there any actual books on display? I'm not sure. And then it's so wonderfully inept.
It's like Jean-Paul Sartre setup. This cheesy fake room and all these characters trying to find their way. You know what I had written down here too?
Tell me.
In caps. Questionable leading man. And got me thinking, how many movies have a lead this questionable? For one, being like kind of older.
Yeah.
For two, having such poor acting skills.
Mm-hmm.
And three, not just poor, he's poor, but he's so unenthusiastic.
Yeah.
He's barely in the movie.
Just walking through the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, if someone was like, the producer was like, we're making a movie. You're my guy. You're on screen, and I'm hearing your inner thoughts for the entire thing. It's like, okay,
Wonder if it's even
guess.
his voice now that I think about it. But yeah.
Well, if it is, whoever did the ADR is so inept too, because that's really not that hard to do. But he's stumbling over his lines. It would have been practically free to do like, hey, just say that one more time.
But
this into a little tape recorder.
Yeah, they either didn't bother to do second takes, or that was just the best they got. And it's beautiful. It's amazing. I can't believe this got released.
Awesome. As a leading man, he reminds me a little bit of the Stepsisters leading man.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah,
but that guy's better. He's a lot more energetic. This guy's just sauntering through.
They're similar age, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've established so this lady is the Skid Row slasher. We're soon gonna find out because we watched the drunk guy tries to get into a movie theater, but he's shooed away. And the bookstore lady's following him. She passes the model killer, who's also just hanging out at the movie theater. The drunk guy passes out in an alleyway, and he's stabbed. We don't see who it is, but it's clearly the bookstore lady who's doing it. So model killer hates women who are willing to be photographed nude, and so he kills so he makes appointments with them so he can kill them, I guess. Meanwhile, Skid Row Slasher hates it when alcoholics show up in her shop.
Right.
Which happens all the time, it seems.
Yeah. So she chose a questionable line of work. If you want a quiet bookstore, I guess like Skid Row, and presumably it sells racy books or something. You're gonna get characters coming in.
That's a good point. It's not the best neighborhood. I'm not gonna say that it definitely only sells racy books. I don't know what it sells. There's hardly any merchandise.
I know, but this, you know what? It's almost like an art form, the way that this movie presents such a sleazy world.
Yeah.
You're only seeing like a couple shops, and they're all so sleazy, and everyone around there looks so sleazy. It's a little bit cohesive by accident, probably.
It is outrageously sleazy. I'm sure Hollywood in the 70s wasn't all that horrible, but this movie makes it seem like the worst place you could be. I don't know if that's just greater Los Angeles or what, but oh, it's ugly, huh?
Yeah, I wonder with this first killing if they even thought that the audience was going to know who it is or not, because they filmed it like a slasher movie where you don't see the killer, but there's only two characters, and we just seen her walk over there,
And
and
it's a
then
lady's hand too. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if they thought about it.
Maybe they
Doesn't
just
really.
didn't get a shot of her face. They're like, wait, we didn't get her face. Oh well, good enough. We'll use this.
It's an almost mystery.
Yeah.
It's a poorly shot almost mystery. I'm go with that.
So next we have what happens. Of course, the model killer makes another appointment while ranting about how these ladies are just looking for money. There's two of them at the house he shows up at. He suspects that they'll have to kill both of them. One goes to take a shower while the other poses. And then he's saying to himself, don't wait. There's no time. Do it. Not slow like Marsha. I've got to do it. He says that in like a sing-songy way, which is just horrible. I don't know if you remember that, Charlie, but it's rough. So then he kills the model girl as the blonde girl's showering. The music's intense in the strangling scene, but serene when you cut back to the shower. I don't know if you remember that too. It's like dun dun dun, and then cut to the shower. Do 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 do.
They must have gotten some buyout music or some like library music, and it was just at times it so doesn't fit or it's so over the top.
Yeah, it's like hold music at times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Questionable move by this girl to go. I mean, questionable to have the model killer come in your house and be so. These girls are so happy towards him.
they're
and
so
not-
nice. Yeah.
They're so nice. They're so not weirded out by this guy who won't speak, leers at them, and looks like the sleaziest gent you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then this girl, like, I need to take my shower now. Like, just wait 5 minutes
I
till the guy's
know.
gone. But she's got to go in there. And then we enjoyed her beach towel that she used. Do you remember?
It's Kiss. Is it a Kiss?
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
Kiss. The whole room is like a tribute to the band Kiss,
Yes.
which I'm
And
sure they didn't get permission. Not that it
And
matters.
Yeah, and did they do it for a reason?
I don't think so. That was the room they had access to. Like, I guess we'll just go with it. Yeah.
And they zoom in on the album at the end, which is
Yes.
wonderful. Of all the things you could have done, someone, I don't know how many people were working on this shoot, but let's just zoom in on this album. I don't know, and then we're done. We're out of here.
Somebody thought it was funny. Somebody with a bad sense of humor was like, "Oh, and then we'll do a little close up on the Kiss album." Like, oh. But that happened just for the audience to know so he kills the model girl, goes into the room of the shower girl who's out of the shower and drying off in her room. And then he smothers the shower girl with a pillow while saying, "Can't breathe, huh?" And then as she dies, he says, "Wonder if she saw that movie Pillow Talk," which is more. Did you hear that?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's the worst part of the movie. Maybe he must have just made that up. It's almost like an Italian horror movie here because they always do their dubbing
Yeah.
too much. They've any breath that they can fill, any moment that they could fill with needless words is filled. So here you've got this American movie that's from the 70s and it's not that old. And yeah, you've got that.
Yeah, more. I could see the notes from the producer. More needless words, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we cut to the bookstore where yet again a drunken fool has wandered in.
Yeah.
He leaves, goes into an alley, passes out on some stairs. She closes down the shop, and then she kills him. And we finally see that it's her. So the big mystery that was barely existing has been solved.
I like how cartoony the hobos are. I give them credit for that.
Yeah, they're very over the top.
Like, this is hobo. Like, this guy is like a hobo. When a kid dresses up as a hobo for Halloween, and that's how, like,
Yeah,
one or two of
and the
them look.
drunkenness is so over the top too. They're like barely
Yeah.
conscious.
Yeah, they're more charming than annoying almost.
Yeah, I mean, do they bother her that much? They just wander into the store and then leave real quickly without putting up a fight. It's crazy. But so then we develop a pattern where the Skid Row slasher lady from the bookstore, she kind of has to go running on the beach after each murder to kind of purify herself. Is that the idea, you think?
Yeah, I think the beach is her pigeons. It's like so for him, his solace is petting the pigeons, and
Yes.
he pets them that one time, and he says, "You, my loves, are the loyal ones," which is just great and crazy.
Well, I have a. I don't know if that's what you're thinking, but he at one point he says, "You always come back to me, unlike Marcia."
Yeah. But for her, yeah, she feels cleansed. It's her solace. It's deep. It's beautiful.
So
Yeah.
and it's quick. It's fun. It's like a quick
It's
shot,
quick.
just like 4 seconds of her running on the beach, and then boom, back to the repetitive story. Where surprise, the model killer is setting up another photo shoot. But first he visits the pigeons, where he says that line about how they're the only ones he can count on.
Mm.
So in my notes I say he's on some kind of quest to find a pure woman like Marcia, who was different and pure until she cheated on him with several men, it seems. So I guess we're never gonna know the Marcia backstory. If anyone was gonna know it, it would be Tom. So we're all suffering for his not being here.
Yeah. He's looking for the purest of the racy models. So it's a very small subset of nude, half naked
Yeah,
models.
you'd think
but
maybe he'd like go to a local church if he was trying to find someone pure. But you're right. He wants a pure woman amidst the world of the ladies are willing to disrobe for a stranger with a camera at a moment's notice. So, okay. So then,
Are we getting to Trans Am Girl?
I haven't gotten there. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
So he's obsessed with the bookstore lady, who he sees her around town from time to time. That's good. Now he's at the pool, with the girl in the pool, who's posing.
Little hot tub scene.
Little hot tub. In his head, he's saying, "You want me to do it slow, but I'm going to do it quick, like the last two," before he strangles her with the top of her bikini. Now what's amazing with this girl? She's like inviting him to come into the pool with her, and she's coming on to him aggressively. And I just don't see how that. I don't see how that is. Like, what is going on, Charlie?
Yeah, I do not know. I mean, this.
Are they
Yeah.
are they prostitutes who just are willing to pose, or are they just model?
I don't think I think they're just models.
Okay, and so this model was overcome by the creepiness of the model killer to the point where she's inviting him into the pool with her, which is insane. But I guess we just got to live with that.
Yeah.
So after that, what happens? Of course, he goes to hang out with his pigeons, lamenting about how he can't find anyone as loyal as them. Then he follows the bookstore lady around town. And then he sees the girl in the white car. Is it a Camaro? Is that what you said?
Something like that. Yeah.
Some cool some cool white car.
He's
And
just standing there outside, and it pulls up, right?
I'm
And he
pretty
spies-
sure she is the girl, one of the customers in the bookstore from one of the opening scenes. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but it's just confused, just similar enough, or just it's just confusing enough to make you a little angry. Where it seems like it could have been kind of any girl.
It's
but-
either a random girl or it's that girl, and it doesn't matter, and they don't quite explain it one way or the other.
and she's not a model unless he had like asked her to be a model and she said no. But
This is breaking his modus operandi. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I mean, I guess that's making him more of a Hollywood strangler here.
Oh, good point. Good point. He's
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
model killer. He's a Hollywood strangler. That's what he is. We've been deceived for years by this
Yeah.
VHS title.
Yeah.
So she gets her groceries. And I love how she parks a good distance away from the front door of the grocery store. And so they let us see every step from as she's walking back to the car. In real time, we watch her walking through the parking lot back to her car, which, maybe, I guess the movie's only an hour long. They didn't have anything to cut, right?
Yeah, they needed that time.
So as she gets into the car, who's hiding in the back seat but the model killer or the Hollywood Strangler? And what does he do? He kills her. So then
He's got to go seek solace.
So he goes home for he has a quick beer at home. Literally 4 seconds, that shot of him drinking similar to the bookstore lady going for a run.
I feel like that shot of him holding a beer, like dirty jeans jacket, just against some wood paneled wall is like this movie summed up. When I want to think back about what this movie is like, it's him like looking so disinterested with a 70s style can Budweiser in front of a wood thing. It's like they turned the camera on for a little test film just to make sure that it was rolling smoothly, and
now it's in the movie. And 40 years later, at least two people on Earth are discussing it right now. So they won. Yeah. It worked. They won.
Oh yeah, they did win.
So after the 4-second beer at home, he's back on the streets. He goes to the bookstore, stares at the lady, then he leaves. He didn't even get through the door in that particular time. He's in love with her, I guess? Or is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to play it like a tender for us to like feel for him, that he's awkward, and that if he meets a girl who might be nice, he doesn't know what to do.
Good call.
Yeah, but he does not handle it well. It's the most awkward staring and then leaving without speaking. But they didn't have audio equipment, so
they wrote that into the script. That's brilliant.
Maybe they wrote it into the script that he is tongue-tied with around this woman.
So now he's back home again. He's moved on to hard liquor, and he asks himself, why couldn't I bring myself to talk to her? So there it is. Next thing you know, he's in some sort of strip club / roller skating rink, where naked people are roller skating. But it's just, did you go back and look at it or not? I don't know, but I really think like the roller skating area is about a 10-foot by 10-foot dance floor that they're just going around and around in, right?
Right. I think this establishment is really a strip club, and the roller rink is just it's just a little side thing. Maybe this is roller skate night, where other nights
where people just go around in a tiny circle. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, this is just it's something they do on maybe Wednesday is roller skating night. Small circle.
Unbelievable. So these crazy people are dancing around, or just skating around and playing with balloons. And
our song, the song here, man, the song.
Oh, tell me about the song.
It's called "Pretty Little Girl."
Okay.
This is a moment. This is good. This is what we want, because we're dealing with this movie with so much repetitiveness, no dialogue, no funny lines. But "Pretty Little Girl," when it comes on there, and I can't sing it right now because I forget, but I noted how great it was. And these 70s movies like this gave a good outlet for like low budget songwriters to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's someone no one's ever heard of, but they made a great little song in here, and I appreciate it.
Well, that's beautiful. I gotta confess, I did not note, and I don't remember "A Pretty Little Girl." So I'm glad you made note of it.
It's fantastic. If we had like the ability if we had a lot of time to like record it and edit it in right now, that would be nice. But we won't.
We don't have that kind of time. I'm sorry.
No.
Watch the movie yourselves, listeners. Watch it yourselves. All right. Jeez. All right. So that's a classic scene, the old roller skating scene. That stands out, because it's slightly different from all the others. He's like in a different location, and he's just there. Like nothing comes of it. It's just like Model killer hangs out there for a little bit, and on we go to another drunk guy who shuffles by the bookstore as it's closing. The lady follows him into an alley, and she stabs him. I noted that the knife was already dripping blood before it even started going into him. Did you see that, Charlie?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that was a nice touch, but I'll let it go.
Mm.
And of course, listeners, let's all say it together. The next morning, the lady goes for a run at the beach. Of course.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, model killer's tending to his pigeons. He's wandering the streets, snapping pictures randomly of people. And he starts following the bookstore lady. We get to watch her browsing at a market as he snaps photos. Yes.
Here's what they got to do. Get themselves a small apartment on the beach that lets you keep pigeons. They get the coop right there, right? He can pet the pigeons,
Yeah.
maybe crack open a bud.
She
The
could go
girl
running.
can do her long-legged stride thing that she does on the beach in her little tracksuit. Come back. They could talk, or not talk about pigeons, and then just don't go to Skid Row. Or
Seriously.
don't go to Hollywood. Yeah.
They could have lived a much happier life, those two.
Yeah.
So the scene keeps going. There's no dialogue, just the model killer walking and following the bookstore lady who's shopping and now returns to work. He comes in, their eyes meet, and he leaves.
Yeah, he's
Again.
taking pictures of her. And does she live right behind the bookstore or something?
I don't know where she lived. I thought she lived near the beach, but I never thought of it either.
I felt like he snuck into her office or like the back room there. when he
That's
was
later.
there.
Yeah, I feel like
Oh,
there's-
that's later?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, model killer goes home again, has a beer, tends to the pigeons. I'm not kidding, folks. This really just keeps happening. They have like 4 locations, and they just go one to the next, to the next, to the next, and then repeat. While tending the pigeons, he thinks, why can't I get her out of my mind? She's not like Marsha. She'd listen to me. Marsha. Oh, no. Meanwhile, back at the store, you won't believe this, Charlie. Another drunk guy is wandering by the bookstore.
Uh-huh.
And this guy gets a bit of a distance before she can start following him. He's in a building down an alley, up some stairs, but she makes it all the way in there and tracks him down and stabs him, which is a little unbelievable, but I guess that's what she does.
Right. She's good at it.
So you might tell us what she does the next morning.
She goes to the beach for solace.
That's right.
Yeah.
So then the model killer, he does some drinking at home, and then he plays with some dogs. He's mostly a pigeon guy, but he will play with the dogs from time to time.
Yeah, he doesn't discriminate.
And while playing with the dogs, he wonders, she's beautiful, but would she be loyal? And
this guy, Ray Dennis Stickler, just thought, like, who can I not pay? And he's like, I don't have to pay pigeons. I don't have to pay this random dog that my neighbor has. Like,
and I don't have to pay the pedestrians who don't know they're in a movie.
Yep. Done. He did so well.
Model killer goes back to the bookstore. He locks the door behind him, and this is where she's in the back room doing her hair. I do not know what, like, the setup of. I feel like they had 3 different actual places that they used as the bookstore, because like every shot looks like a different place. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when there's a shot of early on of the 2 teenage or younger people by a table looking at books, that just does not feel like it's the same storefront.
Yeah.
And likewise, this office in the back. What the heck is going on there?
I don't know. I didn't know where that was. And he enters and gets into places as if he's a ghost almost, like with the ability to go through walls. It's just like all of a sudden he's there. It's very weird.
So she sees him as she comes out to answer the phone, and they stare at each other. She's unfazed by the fact that this guy who keeps coming by is now in the back room of her store. She sits down seductively at her desk, which big mistake. Oh, big mistake, because what does model killer say? He says she's a tease just like the rest. What a shame,
Yeah,
huh?
big time shame. This whole setup here, when I wrote down, it's as if it's a dream because it's so weird and the logic is so
Yeah, no one's
skewed.
reacting like a human would.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. And you know what's really nice is they've gotten us into this repetitiveness that it's almost like whoa, it's a little bit here, it's almost a little bit refreshing.
So, so that's it. He's done with her because she was interested in seducing him. That's a big no-no for the model killer. He's got some major hang-ups, it seems.
That's right.
And so he goes to strangle her, but she starts stabbing him. We got stabbing and strangling simultaneously. This is
Yeah.
crazy. Who's gonna win? Must die, he says, like in his inner monologue, like the struggling. She dies.
It's like Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla, like one of those movies with two titans. Like
Yes.
someone who has the ability, or in Mortal Kombat or something, someone can freeze you, but someone can rip your heart out, and they both have the powers.
Two superpowers. Yeah, it's who's gonna win, and I guess they both win because the model killer, after killing her, stumbles out, bleeding, calls out Marsh's name. Well, by call out I mean says it in his reverb-filled head, and he stumbles down the street and dies by a pornographic store. The end.
An ignominious death.
You're
Yeah.
My Love, a fun disco song, comes on the soundtrack. Was that the same song from The Thing, or is that a different one?
That might be the same artist. I think.
Anyway, and now this movie is horrible in many ways, but the joy that I felt, I've seen it twice now, the joy that I felt when it was over, just that relief. Like, oh, I don't have to watch it anymore, makes me like it so much more.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, the repetitiveness of it got us so used to this.
Yeah, we're
It's
lulled.
almost like
Yeah.
in one of the Rocky movies. I should know better. Maybe Rocky 2. Rocky is really better with one hand, but he doesn't train with it because he wants to save it for when
yeah.
he's ready to make this movie. It's like they're kicking you with the right hand. It's just
Yeah.
like punching. Okay. Beach, pigeons, kill. Hobo, beach, pigeons, kill. And then this movie, it's the same thing over and over. And then all of a sudden, pow! It's like it's over, and you're so happy and so relieved. And because it comes last, you almost like. I mean, you do like the movie at that point. You're like, thank God, this is the greatest gift you could give me. Movie is ending like this,
Yeah.
so quickly, not drawn out at all. When the rest of the movie is so drawn out.
Yeah, he just falls and it's over. He just falls on the ground. And then boom, the end. And just hip hip hooray. And you got to respect this movie for all the there's so many pigeon scenes, running scenes.
It's random sidewalk extras.
It's amazing. And I recommend it, Charlie, because you can get through it. There are some movies I like more, but that also test your patience more though than this does. And what is I don't know, what is the goal of art? Is the goal of art to get them in and out quickly so that they don't get bored? I don't know, but the goal of low budget horror movies is to trick people into watching it and then letting them out before they get really angry. So
Right.
So it worked. What are your big thoughts on Model Killer?
Yeah, I like it as well. I think that I'm happy that this time existed when you could make a movie this low budget and actually get it seen and make money on it.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard that he did, and I heard that he did the classic like travel around with the movie to show it. Joe Bob Briggs said it was a budget in the low 4 digits, which
Wow.
at that time
Yeah.
it was hard to get access to editing rooms. Just the cost of the stock, and maybe he owned the camera, but I mean that's an achievement. That is like every penny is on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Model Killer is
he's memorable.
Yep, exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's terrible, but in the pantheon of shock people, if we were making like a tableau with like illustrations of everybody,
He'd be in there. He'd be in the
he's in
mural.
there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And when you watch a movie that captures a place and time well too, there's a value to
Yes.
that. And
Very
this
well said. Yeah.
this does that.
It's like a gritty documentary almost, of that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that strip club roller rink has never been in any. I don't know, but
Yeah.
maybe it's not. Maybe it's not in any photos. No one
Probably
thought.
no longer in operation.
Yep, probably not. And there it is. It's in a movie. So
Can I just say now? I now want a mural. I got this wall here, this big white wall. Imagine if I could commission someone to do a mural of Pahu, the model killer, just all of our favorite guys.
yeah.
Oh, that would be nice. Huh?
Well, Ollie's already kind of done it for two
That's
of the
true. Yeah.
books.
The book covers. Yeah. But I'm talking life size.
Yeah, life size.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Shock memories. The same feeling, like the memory I have is that I remember that it was all reverby interior monologue, and I remember the roller skating, and I remember the joy of it being over. Because when you're in a movie marathon, you need short movies, and this one just shocked us all because I don't think we knew how short it was going to be. Did we, Charlie?
No, you're right. And the VHS copy, I think, has a little bit of an extra scene even. It's been funny that way we've been talking about the length because it was shorter than we thought it was going to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I think in actuality on the VHS there's a scene where he goes to a modeling agency. And there's someone who has like headshots, and I vaguely remember that scene, which we did not witness on this YouTube version.
This is a movie that it could cut out so much and no one would miss it because there's no the story. The 8 minutes in, you know everything that's going to happen in the whole movie basically.
Yeah.
And they just keep going around and around. So I don't remember that scene, but it's possibly on the VHS, but not on the one we saw. But that's fine. It was superfluous. But how funny it is that they would cut something out of a movie that was an hour and 3 minutes long. They're like, let's get this down to an hour 2.
Yeah, I know. Oh.
All right, we did shock memories. We did overall ideas. Is that all we do? I keep forgetting.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I think as a filmmaker, Ray Dennis Stickler is important because he could make stuff so cheap. He really captured the sleaze, and his name is awesome. It sounds like a scary guy who leads a cult or something.
Yeah.
Like a Ray Dennis Stickler.
And you've told me that there's another movie with the same director and same actor made several years later, right?
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow. Is it the same plot?
Pretty much. Something like that. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I mean, as if you could even conceive another instance of this, and it's like, oh yeah, and maybe sleazier.
Imagine the phone call to the actor, the denim-clad guy who plays the model killer, for getting the phone call. Hey, we're gonna do it again in Vegas this time. He's like, I've just been waiting. He's just I picture him tending to pigeons. It's probably his house. He probably is a pigeon guy.
Maybe he just put his beer down, tucked up the collar of his jeans jacket and drove to Vegas,
We're going to have to track down that movie. That is exciting. Wow. Yeah, and so it's super 70s is what it is. It looks 70s, it feels 70s. It's got the disco. One of the best parts, like you said, of these movies is it's cool when you hear songs, but it's double cool when it's disco for some reason. I really like the disco in horror movies. And the horror kind of clung, I don't know if clung is a word, but clinged to disco, it seems, longer than it was even popular. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I feel like early 80s horror, they still had disco going on.
Yeah, I think sometimes in horror, they want to show young people having fun.
Yeah.
And to do it quickly, you show them dancing or
what
disco.
Year is Prom Night? Was Prom Night 1980, I guess? So I guess it was right on the end of disco.
Yeah, it's not a horror movie, but you had some full-fledged disco in The Great Skycopter Rescue. That's kind of my go-to movie for low budget disco scene in a sort of a fringe cult movie.
Disco and horror is one of disco in any movie. It's delightful.
Yeah.
I love trends. I love things of the moment, you know. And then
Well, disco and skycopters were so of the moment because you it was this very small time when people were like, I gotta fly. I don't have a lot of money, but I want to be able to fly something. And like, what if we take this little go-kart and we put a copter wings and a copter on it?
wow, that. What year was that made?
I wish I knew.
It's okay.
76,
Yeah.
maybe.
So check out Model Killer. Probably easier to find it as the Skid Row slasher meets the Hollywood Strangler. Is that it?
Yeah, he his other titles. He did the incredibly strange zombies incredibly strange who stopped living and became mixed up zombies, something like that.
Oh
So
wow, he loves a long title, and so do I. Yeah.
yeah, so we owe him a little bit of respect for his zany titles. The incredibly strange creatures who stopped living and became mixed up zombies. Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Question mark. Isn't that nice?
That is good stuff. I like this guy. I like him a lot. What's his name again?
Ray Dennis Steckler, and he also made a movie called Lemon Grove Kids Meet the Monsters.
Oh wow.
And it looks like the title stole the Lemonheads candy writing and just calls it, and they just changed it a little bit
Nice. Oh,
to say
I love
lemon.
it. Yeah, we need to do a movie where meets something meets something. We need to do that.
I like the Meats movies. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. If Tom is able to send us some thoughts, then you're gonna hear them after this, and if not, then the podcast is over. So, Charlie, great work.
Nice. Thank you.
For
job.
Charlie and Tom, this is Matt saying thanks for listening to the Shock Marathons podcast.